What's up, guys? It's already time again for new Star Wars Figuarts. The release cycle is kind of weird this time around, so we got some new stuff. We have got the unmasked Kylo Ren from Episode 8 on deck today. We got him in our standard Figuarts box with the giant window. I love this packaging, big fan of it. The back has Kylo Ren with some cross-sell with some troopers. We got some more product shots, some unreadable stuff down there. Let's pull him out and take a look. Alright guys, so here he is out of the package, and I was looking forward to this figure quite a bit. I skipped the Force Awakens unmasked Kylo Ren because I just didn't feel like I needed two that close together, and I am glad I skipped him after getting a hold of this one. There are two things in particular that I am not very happy with. One is really odd to see on a Figuarts product. Just like, it seems like a huge miss. At the end of the day, it doesn't make me hate having this figure, but it does raise some questions as to how this thing got out the door with something like this kind of glaringly being a problem. So we're going to go through sculpt and paint, and then we'll look at articulation and all that good stuff. Articulation is where one of my problems will manifest itself. So let's take a look at sculpt first. This is, I mean, it's exactly what you think it's going to be. Kylo Ren underneath the robes, because as far as we know, I don't think he has the robes in this movie, unless I'm just completely forgetting that point. So we're used to what he looks like. I think the sculpt is pretty much on point for the body. There's not a lot to talk about here. I mean, you know what Kylo Ren looks like. You know what he's supposed to look like. Everything's sculpted really well. The weave and the mesh on what would be fabric, but it's plastic here, obviously, looks really nice. Everything's very clean and uniform. A lot of nice wrinkles sculpted into the pants. The buckles and the straps sculpted really well on those boots. The big thing, though, is obviously the face, the head sculpt. Hair is sculpted really nice. A lot of detail, a lot of line work in there. And what my biggest concern for this figure before getting a hold of him was the quality of this face sculpt. And I like it. I think it's really nice. I think it is about as close to Adam Driver as you could get in a 1/12 6-inch scale. It's not perfect. It looks better in some angles than others, but I think it's really good, and it's really close. I think Figuarts is getting better and better with how they do this. I mean, we've got a lot of good humans in the line already, and I think this is probably up there at the top of the list, close to the top of the list for me among some of their past releases. As far as the paint on the face, I think the digital printing techniques works pretty well here. The different hues of skin tone kind of show up just a little bit. There is some kind of gradient going on to give it some light and shadow contrast going on. Lips are really well done. The scar is nicely done. It's not too much and it's not too little. The only thing I think that might be a problem on the face is that the eyes seem kind of light. I think they could stand to be a little darker, but overall I am very happy with the way the face turned out, with the way the head turned out. Yeah, I don't really have anything to complain about in that regard. Paint on the rest of the figure, pretty much non-existent. There's really no paint on this guy, and that's not a negative. There really shouldn't be. If you can cast the plastic in the right color to begin with, I would much rather have it than paint over top. There is some on the buckles for the boots. There's just some silver, but for the most part, this is 100% just cast plastic, and there's not a whole lot going on here in terms of paint. Everything is as you see it. All right, let's get him straightened up here and talk articulation. So he is, for the most part, a basic Figuarts figure, so he has what you expect he's going to have. But we've obviously got a big butterfly joint here, which I wanted to talk about because I'm a big fan of this joint, and I think it works really well on this figure. It doesn't break up the line work of the weave on the shirt too much. Obviously, it's always going to. That's just the nature of the joint. But it helps to get him into some more dynamic poses. You know, help get those arms closer out in front to have him holding his lightsaber with two hands right in front of his chest. It helps with that pose. So I am always on board for that kind of thing. The arms can go out pretty much 90 degrees. There is a bicep swivel, but it's really more of a top shoulder swivel. You can, if I pull this butterfly back just a little bit, you can see that it swivels right at the outset of the shoulder, which is okay. It really is hidden quite well inside there, honestly. We have standard Figuarts double jointed elbow, which has a lot of movement, and we have rotation, normal kind of Figuarts ball joint there. We do have a double ball. You can pop them apart so you can see how it works, and this thing is a free floating piece. It works decently enough, not a ton of movement. He has good rotation, but not a lot of rocker action, really. We have a, pull the kind of skirt piece up there. We do have a Figuarts drop-down joint, so you can make him look a little taller if you need to in certain poses, and it helps with stability as well. Legs go out to the side, legs go all the way forward. I mean, really high kick. Back, we got a Figuarts standard knee joint, so of course it goes back pretty far. There's not anything at the shin or boot, but we do have a rocker, and we have a hinge, and you can swivel it all the way around, and we have toe articulation. So the one thing I didn't talk about yet is the head and the neck. So that is a pain point. That's my big problem here. So obviously, if you've seen the figure, you saw the packaging, he comes with an extra head. So it's the helmet. The helmet can be considered an accessory, and it can also be used as an extra head. So that means he comes with not only the head, but an extra neck piece, because as you can see, there is skin showing, so you couldn't have the helmet on with skin showing. So the whole thing is capable of popping out. And that's all fine and well. It works good. It definitely pops out just fine, and that tends to be the problem. So the head for KYLO here basically just sits on a ball peg. And honestly, I think the problem is that the peg is too far seated in. It looks really, really deep. So it's just, I mean, it's not flush with the body. And I'm not sure if even that would fix it, but it really has like a lever action. When you want to move it at the neck, anything, it'll just pop right out. And the helmeted version is honestly a little bit worse. So the head itself can swivel, but when you start to move him backwards or forwards, if you move him forwards about that much, and that's pretty good, but if you move him back, that's about as far back as he's going to go, and any too far forward, and you're just going to pop the head right off. This is not something that I'm having a problem with personally, or not something that's unique to this figure in particular. Pretty much everybody that's talked about this guy so far really doesn't like how this head and neck system works. It's just kind of the way it is for this figure, is that if he was going to have a problem that people noticed, it's definitely this. So talking about the head and how it works, I'm just going to pop this out, and we'll put in the other head. And honestly, I think this, like I said, this one is worse because, as you can see, the unhelmeted head, the unmasked head, does not have kind of a flared base at the collar. So he just sits right in. Whereas this one is flared base. And I'm actually, I thought I had it backwards, but I didn't. So you can see that it actually overlaps the chest piece. It doesn't sit inside. So if you could look at it wrong, and it'll probably fall out. That itself is a problem. It's not, ruining my day or anything, but it has caused problems with me trying to put him in certain poses. The helmet itself will tend to have a harder time turning. That's about as far as you can get it to turn, because the head, and I keep getting my head stuck inside the neck piece on this particular, on the helmeted version. The helmet, it's almost like it's keyed. So this piece fits just into it's like an insert inside the helmet. And when you want to turn it, eventually it's just turned to the point where it'll start to pop itself out. So it all depends on how you've got the head angled for how far you can turn it. If he's looking straight on and you try to turn it, it's going to want to pop out. You kind of have to hold it in place. So you can play with it to make it work, but when it's on the body, it's going to be harder to make it do that than if it wasn't. And then when if you wanted to make this guy look down, you really have to hold on, but too much force and it's just going to pop right out. So, yeah, buyer beware on that one. Your mileage may vary in terms of how well or how hard it is for you to make this work. It's getting there for me, but at the end of the day, it is definitely an issue, and it is a weird thing that this got out the door like this, with them not saying, I'm sure we could have fixed this, or maybe make that ball peg inside there just a little bit longer. So speaking of accessories, I'm just going to go ahead and pop this back on. He does come with other stuff. It's a Figuarts figure, obviously. So we have got lightsaber hilts, we've got the lightsaber itself, and we've got hands, all that good stuff. So we've got the normal KYLO REN style lightsaber. This is pretty much the same thing we've seen before. I like this lightsaber. I like this design. I like this interpretation of it in Figuarts scale. Looks good. It's well made. A lot of paint apps, a lot of sculpted detail on that hilt. We have got a hilt with a peg that can go into the belt here. Pretty standard stuff. I never really use those, but it's nice to have. I like that they go that extra mile for this kind of stuff. And then he has an unignited hilt that has no way to be used with the blade. So you've got unignited and ignited, and then unignited with a peg for the belt. He does have extra hands. We have got a total of 5 sets of hands here, and the hands are good, normal stuff. The second issue, though, that we have with this figure is, and I'm working through it as well, it seems the more I play with this figure, the better it gets, but it's definitely an issue right out the gate, is that either the, and I think it's that the peg on the wrist, let me pull one of these off. Yeah. Hate that sound, almost worried like I'm going to break it every time I do that. I'm pretty sure this particular ball, this little nub, is a little too oversized for the holes on these hands. Every set of hands I've used on each side, they are just really, really hard to get on. They are working themselves out as I play with them because I've gone through a lot of hands so far, but it's definitely an issue. So, you know, take care when you're pulling these off and putting them on, that at least at the very beginning, you might have some difficulty getting these hands off and then on. So as far as what he actually comes with, like I said, we've got 4 extra sets of hands. We have got a kind of open palm force power hand. We have got a lightsaber gripping hand. We've got another open hand, but yet a different style of grip. It's not meant for holding a lightsaber. It's more of just another force power hand. And then the other more unique set of hands that he has is for holding the helmet. Like I said, it can be used as an accessory. He can hold it either as right or as left hand, and this allows you to make a firm grip on the rim of the helmet. All right, and here is the SH Figuarts next to the more recently released Black Series KYLO REN from The Last Jedi, just for comparison so you can see, you know, it's a night and day difference between quality levels here, but I still maintain that this actually isn't a bad figure. For what we have to work with Black Series, he's not bad. Big difference, though, is obviously that he comes with the cape. KYLO REN from SH Figuarts does not. And just to compare against some other SH Figuarts before we look at this guy next to the original KYLO REN, we've got him with the Episode 8 Phasma, and we'll move her out. And here he is next to Grandpa. And here is the original SH Figuarts KYLO REN next to the new figure. And one difference that I didn't really talk about because it's hard to talk about without having this in person is there is a difference in the helmet. So it's a different color for one, and I still maintain that the sculpt is slightly different on these as well, just in some small fashion, but the color is different. This is a more matte gunmetal kind of gray color, and this is just straight black. So there is difference here in terms of what you're getting between these two figures. And then he's obviously got a bit of a different just texture and look about his actual clothing in some fashion too. So overall, despite the figure having one really big flaw with that head and neck situation, and then the lesser issue with the hands, which I think will work itself out over time, I do really like this figure. I think it is a good likeness to Adam Driver. It's a well-constructed figure outside of the neck again. And then he comes with a whole bunch of stuff, and I'm always for stuff. So we got a lot of accessories like usual, and it's just a good-looking figure. And he's going to look good on my shelf with the rest of the First Order stuff. So I'm not too upset overall, but I am going to have to play around with the head and the neck just to get him posed correctly, and otherwise that shouldn't have been an issue. That really should have never made it out the door this way. So that is going to do it for this look at the Star Wars The Last Jedi SH Figuarts KYLO REN from Bandai. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And until next time, guys.